Okay, guys, our last group of speakers, Sarah Roundtree Schlessinger and Brianna Fuller, Sarah is the CEO of Texas Water Foundation. She previously worked in groundwater policy and regulation and has experience with international nonprofits and disaster response. Sarah currently serves as an appointed member of the Water Conservation Advisory Council, the Texas Water Advisory Council, and as a board member for Texas Water Trade. Sarah holds a Master of Science in Water Science, Policy and Management from the University of Oxford. Brianna Fuller is the campaign manager for the Texas Water Foundation, leading efforts for Texas Runs on Water campaign. She previously worked for Keep Texas Beautiful and brings her experience in the environmental nonprofit sector, leading communications and marketing for statewide campaigns. Brianna currently serves on the board of the Young Women's Alliance and has a passion for community involvement. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Rhetoric and Writing from the University of Texas at Austin. Please welcome our next speakers.
All right, hello, good afternoon. We know that we stand between you and freedom, so we are going to go through this as quickly as possible. My name is Sarah. I'm here with my colleague Brianna. We're really excited to talk to you about the next generation of water leaders and talk to you a little bit about a water campaign and to inspire you to pay attention to what we're saying. We have a carrot, and that is a beautiful Texas Runs on Water cap, but there will be a quiz at the end, okay? So y'all listen to a couple of the details. There'll be a quiz, and somebody will win this cap. So, quick thing, Texas Water Foundation, we're a nonpartisan 501c3, a nonprofit, and we are working to lead Texas into a sustainable water future. And the way that we're doing that is in 3 different areas. We do that in policy work. We provide nonpartisan issue briefs and kind of work with the legislature. We also do that in education by building out a statewide water campaign, which we're going to tell you about this evening. And we also do that in leadership and in building out leadership programs. And so this is the problem statement that we start with, and y'all have heard about over and over again today. The big problem statement that we always start with is that Texas has a 70% population increase projected for the next 50 years. Our current water demands are going to go up and our water supply is going to go down, right? So you don't have to be a water scientist to know that there's a budget issue here. Now, what you also heard throughout today is that one of our biggest strategies for meeting our future supply is going to be through conservation and reuse, right? So we're focusing in on that and asking the question, in addition to all the amazing science and technical stuff that you heard today, how else are we going to achieve our conservation and reuse? And fortunately, Texas has a state water plan. You heard Chairwoman Brooke Popp talk about it. You heard Ben talk about it today. You heard various people talk about the state water plan and the way that we have all these amazing water management strategies, 5,800 of them specifically that are going to solve how we meet our supply and demand, right? But 45% approximately of our future water use is going to have to come from conservation and reuse, if y'all remember some of those graphs that we saw, okay? So here's our deal. We believe that people are a big part of this solution because of the behavior change. One of the last presentations you heard about water conservation, he talked about conservation being a behavior change. So that gets to the root of how do you get people to change their behaviors, right? You could do it through financial incentives, that's true, but how do you get people to care about stuff? That's a really interesting behavioral science question. So before we tell you about what we're doing on the front of trying to get people inspired to care about it, we also know that people are the solution because people are decision makers and they are in leadership positions. Leadership positions like Chairman Perry at the legislature, right? But also within the groundwater districts that we have represented here. I mean, how many GMs do we have represented today? And within the staff as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about the workforce landscape and why we're doing leadership work. And I'm going to do this as quickly as humanly possible. What we know is that on a national level and within Texas is that about 1/3 of our water sector is set to retire in the next couple of years, okay? Now that's not unique to water, that's true across all occupations, but in water it's particularly important because it's an essential function of our society. The other thing that we know is that by 2025, 75% of our workforce is going to be made up of millennials, right? And while this usually inspires a whole bunch of giggles and memes from folks, there's a couple of things that you need to know about that, and that was true before the pandemic, but it is particularly true now. is that generationally there are different expectations of your workforce, and they are things like work-life balance and time off, and policies around maternity, paternity, adoption leave, meaning how you recruit a workforce and how you retain them is going to be partially based off of some of these things. So y'all are familiar that during the pandemic, we've started calling things called the Great Resignation, right, as opposed to the Great Recession. You know why? Because people have realized that they really care about these types of things, right? So as a workforce, as we're thinking about a third of the water sector retiring, what do we need to be thinking about in order to recruit new talent and to retain them? And in Texas, we know the anecdote is true, that about a third of the sector is retiring. I've got a whole bunch of slides here to tell you about within the groundwater district world, why this is true. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you is because in the Ogallala, or in the Panhandle, we rely on the Ogallala, and of course the groundwater districts are our main water workforce, right? Here's the only thing I want you to take away from it. I can't even see my own slides, hold on. Oh, great, excellent. Over 31 of the 100 groundwater districts have GMs that are over the age of 60. 17 of them have GMs that are between the ages of 50 and 59, and so on and so forth, right? So that about third, that's about right. We also, in partnership with Texas Alliance of Groundwater Districts, did a little bit of a polling on some of the benefits that are being offered. And the thing that I want to point out is at the very bottom, only 9 of our groundwater districts allow for permanent, long-term, remote work arrangements, right? That's going to be a big discussion coming up. And really, in the next 5 years, we know that about 20% of our GCD GMs are going to retire. That is a significant change, turnover. That's systemic change. And it's really important that they be thinking about hiring, retention, and succession planning. And earlier we celebrated C.E. Williams, right, and the work and the impact that he's had here. And I want to call out my favorite Dr. Mace joke that he made, because it's also Dr. Mace's birthday. Should we give him a big round of applause for it being his birthday and him being here with us? Yeah. Dr. Mace once said many years ago, we're all going to be in a cone of depression when C.E. Williams retires. You remember saying that? Yeah. Except that we're not, because he was really wise and his board was really wise, and also making sure there's a succession plan and investing in wonderful Brittany, right? So this is something that a lot of our GMs are now really taking very seriously, is thinking about who's the next generation of leadership that's coming up. All right, so one of the things that we are doing is we've got an annual Texas Water Leaders Program. And how it basically works is that you apply, an anonymous committee reviews your application. If you get selected, there's a tuition involved, and then you go into 10 days of training, plus mentorship, one-on-one professional coaching, and some strategic networking. The type of water professionals that we're looking to recruit for this are people who are either newly in a position of leadership or stepping into a position of leadership. So really thinking about that succession planning, right? And so I'm bringing this up because right now, Texas Water Leaders Year 3 is open for applications if anybody is interested. And the modules, our curriculum will span from May until November. And we cover things that have to do with water, but we also cover a lot of things that don't have to do with water because of some of those other issues that I brought up earlier. Things like effective communication and conflict resolution, and how to avoid burnout, because it turns out one of our biggest occupational hazards is burning out. So I'm really pleased that there are a number of Texas Water Leader graduates in this room, and I'm about to embarrass them here in a second. But at the very end of the program, you get a leadership certificate that you can add to your LinkedIn, that you can use in your career development, and you become a part of an incredible alumni network. So here's the part where I show you a couple pictures. This is the first and only picture of the 2020 class, because 3 days after the pandemic hit and we went completely virtual. So most of the class really looked like this. But I took the liberty of pointing out in a couple of places where we had GCD members, and particularly several from the Panhandle as well, that were members of this first class. So that was on their graduation day. And then our 2021 class, which included Brittany here, also had a number of groundwater districts, and we were lucky to get to do things in a virtual way. And Stephanie back there, and Kirk was part of the first class. Did I miss anybody else? No? All right. Some more pictures of the 2021 class, great deal of fun. And of course, you get to be a part of this incredible network of alumni. So that is just my very quick summary of how it is that we're thinking about people as being part of the solution in how we're going to meet our conservation and reuse goal. And a couple of important dates to keep in mind if you're interested in this program is that applications are due by March 15th, and the curriculum will start in May. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Brianna to close us out with something that's much more exciting and includes TikTok as a strategy for affecting change, which I never thought I would say. So in addition to affecting leadership changes, we know that everyday Texans are decision makers that are going to help us in reaching that 45% conservation and reuse goal, right? So we go back to the question of how do you get people to care about stuff? Well, one of the way that we're trying to do it, our small attempt, is to start a statewide water campaign. And y'all remember Don't Mess with Texas? It was a thing, it was an anti-littering campaign. All right, well, Brianna's gonna tell you a little bit about our statewide water campaign, Texas Runs on Water.
Thank you, Sarah. And agreed in trying to get through this as quickly and painlessly as possible, but also as a reminder, this is our eye on the prize, so our Texas Runs on Water swag. But yeah, Sarah set that up perfectly for me to talk a little bit about Texas Runs on Water, which is the first of its kind statewide water campaign. But before I kind of dive into where we're at currently, how we see this campaign growing, and hint, hint, there is a Panhandle Runs on Water presence that's doing amazingly. I do also want to just quickly touch on the sort of why behind this campaign and the concept behind it. So Sarah mentioned Don't Mess with Texas, and that's sort of our Northern Star in terms of what we have to look to as a successful environmental statewide campaign. And what Don't Mess with Texas was so great at doing is creating a cultural movement that, you know, wasn't just an environmental campaign. It really spoke to and tapped into our sense of pride. And you know, as Texans, I'm sure we all are so proud of where we're from. And Don't Mess with Texas did a really great job of having this, you know, don't litter because it's not the Texan thing to do, phrase that worked. And it really did work. I think in 3 years, 70% of litter was decreased from roadways. And so that's what we're looking to as our formula on how we get Texans to care about water. But of course, what we know is that water is not a one-size-fits-all messaging, right? It's incredibly nuanced, it's location-specific. Even I've learned within the Panhandle from county to county is an incredibly different relationship with water. And it requires an integrated approach, right? We've heard plenty about the state water plan and how water conservation isn't just a one-size-fits-all solution. And that's what Texas Runs on Water is trying to help solve, right? 45% of future water use will have to come from conservation and reuse. How do we get Texans to care about water? Well, we tap into that sense of local pride. And that's really what we're trying to do in creating an umbrella concept. So it's not just Texas Runs on Water, it's football runs on water, it's Clarendon College runs on water, it's the jeans we wear, the food we eat, are all things that run on water. And a cool part of this campaign is that we're able to partner with regional entities and really build a campaign that speaks to the communities that we're in. So it is Panhandle Runs on Water, the Hill Country Runs on Water, Houston Runs on Water, and these are campaigns that are actually active and live in Texas currently, and I'll speak a little bit to those as well. So in 2021, we were able to pilot launch this campaign and really get a taste of how it's resonating with Texans and how successful this concept of Pride Plus Action is doing. And so we piloted, as I mentioned, in the Panhandle, in the Hill Country, and in Houston, and partnered with 3 very different regional partners in each. So in the Panhandle, it was with the Panhandle Groundwater Conservation District, and we were really lucky to be working with Brittany and CE and Aspen to bring this campaign to life. And I'll speak more to that as well, because we have ABC7 here, if you guys have seen the Panhandle Runs on Water on your local Wednesday news. But we also partnered with the Houston Public Works, their water utility in Houston, because they otherwise didn't have a water conservation campaign. And in the Hill Country, we partnered with a local nonprofit. And our goal was to reach 25% brand awareness, which we were told is, you know, good luck. That takes millions of dollars in several years for a brand to have that much much recognition in such a short time frame. But what we learned is that the campaign is effectively working and it's resonating with Texans. And our goal is to continue to really tap into that sense of pride plus action and build out this affiliate network where we're in local markets across the state while also building on our statewide presence. But to give you just a snapshot of what we were able to accomplish in 2021, so these are our brand awareness targets that we hit. So in the Panhandle, we reached 35% brand awareness, which is amazing considering our 25% goal, and something that our marketing and advertising professionals really were contemplating record-breaking numbers. In Houston, with such a large market and dealing with their public water utility and trying to hit customers all over the city, reaching 21% brand awareness was an incredible number there as well. And in the Hill Country, with only a month of the campaign being live, we were still able to reach 16%. And then just to give you an idea of the sheer number of people we're reaching, 9 million in Houston, 4.4 in the Panhandle, and just under 500,000 in the Hill Country. That's a lot of impressions on social media, a lot of people seeing our campaign and resonating with it, right? And just to give you a cool view of what's been happening in the Panhandle for those of you, I'm not sure if you guys might have seen this campaign live yet. The goal is to continue to build it out, and there's a mural in the works as well, since we've learned that Amarillo has a huge mural fest and mural presence that we're excited to be working with the local nonprofit to bring that to life. But you'll see the social media paid ad campaign that we did here, and it was a 15-second video with flashes of the Panhandle, and everything we do and love about the Panhandle runs on water. Our ABC News segment, which included a digital online homepage takeover. We have our Panhandle Runs on Water webpage on abc7.com, as well as that weekly news segment. So every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, you can learn more about our state water plan, about local water issues that we spoke about here today, and that's all through Panhandle Runs on Water. And then this other 97% of Texas Panhandle water needs are dependent on the Ogallala. That is a screenshot from our website, and we have a page dedicated to the Panhandle. But I think one thing that I also wanted to harp on, because I've heard it more than once, just in my short 2 days here, is, I think people are tired of hearing this like finger wagging. We need, farmers to start conserving water. We need, it's all on the ag industry. I think the reality is, and what I love about this campaign is that it's not finger wagging and it's not negative messaging. It's celebrating, who we are and what we do as Texans and connecting that to water and getting people to realize that everything we do and love about Texas runs on water. So that is just a snapshot of our strategy and what we've been doing in the Panhandle. But of course, I think the million-dollar question in building this campaign is what does brand awareness and TikTok videos and these social media ads, what does this have to do with behavior change and actually impacting our water conservation needs? Well, we're working to figure that out, and we're committed to first building brand awareness and brand loyalty, speaking to what Don't Mess with Texas did before it ever became a huge anti-litter success. It had to build brand awareness. And so that's why we're here today. That's why, we're building out our social media strategy and hoping to have media partnerships with Texas Monthlies and Texas Highways and continuing relationships with ABC7s and securing funding across the state, right? Our goal is to continue to build our statewide presence. And from 2024 to 2030, that's sort of our large conservation target is by 2030, we hope to really be moving the needle in water conservation and helping meet our needs as identified in the state water plan. And that includes a multi-pronged approach, right? That's water usage data, that's building and plumbing code, it's groundwater data, it's corporate water pledges. It's a lot of what we've talked about here today. But in terms of what's next and where you can start to see this campaign, we're continuing, like I said, to build out our pilot market. So we're in the Hill Country, in Houston and Panhandle, but we hope to have a presence in South Texas and West Texas. I'm originally from San Antonio, so I'm definitely angling to get a San Antonio runs on water as well. And we're also building out a toolkit for all of our affiliates. So the idea is, and what we've learned is that often it's not that people don't want to have a water campaign that they can get behind and adopt, it's that they don't have the marketing resources to make it happen. So the idea here is anyone can adopt Texas Runs on Water and use our toolkit and have social media examples to go off of and did you know facts that are related to their community. And that's the goal, as well as to build our statewide presence, as I mentioned, with our media partnerships, with corporate partnerships. The image to the left is a partnership with a cider that's local to Austin, but there actually will be hopefully distributing statewide a seltzer brand called Texas Cool. And on the bottom of the can, it says, "In proud partnership with Texas Runs on Water." So we hope to be doing a lot more of that. If you guys have any ideas of partners we could be working with, we're always open to that. And then, of course, on the campaign development piece, speaking to that, how do we get from brand awareness to behavior change? Well, we're meeting with the right folks, trying to get the right people in the room in terms of water professionals and really start to identify what those metrics are to that point to behavior change. But ultimately, I want to bring it back to why we're here today and what this campaign is about, which is about reaching the everyday Texan, getting us all involved and excited and caring about water so that eventually that leads to water conservation. And I think, for one, you guys are already steps ahead of the game. I think it speaks to the success of the Panhandle Runs on Water. I think Panhandle residents, you guys care about and have an active knowledge of the water situation here, and that was exciting to hear about today. But of course, first and foremost, always get involved with your local water champions, be in the room, advocate for water, and on a more selfish level and what we hope to do with Texas Runs on Water, if you could support us, that would be awesome. And I encourage all of you to get out your phones and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Clarendon College folks, I know y'all have TikToks, I'm sure of it. And we'd really appreciate y'all's support in building out this campaign. And without further ado, I'll hand it to Sarah for the prize giveaway. Did we?
Yes, we decided. Thank you. All right, congratulations, you made it to the end. Thank y'all. Thank you for letting us come and share this. I know that 2 years ago, the last symposium, we told you about our dreams to build Texas Runs on Water, so it's really excited to be able to share this with you. All right, so the question is, I've got a tiers of question if nobody knows the answer to this first one. How many water management strategies are in the 2022 State Water Plan? Hand up. Kirk, you can't answer. You're barred. You got one? Yes, those numbers were in there, but there may have been some additional. Guyan, did you say it? All right, well, Guyan of ABC 7, thank you so much. You already knew? Okay, all right, we're going to go to a next one. Okay, next.
Brand awareness.
Brand awareness, okay. All right, y'all, I'm looking at you. What percentage brand awareness did we hit in the Panhandle? Yes, sir, you got it. You said 34.4? 34.5? All right, well, gentleman in the back gets the hat. Thank you so much for listening, y'all.